Dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to get through this thing called Mix CD. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I love making Mix CDs. Each week, we give our guests a theme and an 80-minute time limit for which songs they're going to pick for their Mix CD. This week, since we are getting into the holiday season, or we're technically already in the holiday season because the holiday seasons just kind of vary whenever people decide to start celebrating, I guess. Whether it's the end of Halloween or it's the end of Thanksgiving, I don't know. But we're talking holiday slash Christmas songs today. We're specifically focusing on the ones with lyrics and vocal arrangements. We'll be talking a little bit about some of the other options out there, but I am joined by Patrice Downing. Patrice, how's it going?
It's very merry.
It is jolly and merry indeed. So, in our discussions on trying to find other topics to do, you immediately reached out to me and said, "I'm not sure if you were planning on doing Christmas songs or holiday songs, but if you are, I volunteer as tribute."
Yes.
And so first question right off the bat. Do you it seems like you like or tolerate Christmas at best?
I tolerate Christmas to a level where I can't think about anything else the entire month because I think it's the best distraction we have as people to celebrate Christmas.
Mm.
Like, what other thing in your year do you have that just kind of takes your focus off of the normal and gets you in an actual excited mood to be around people you don't normally want to even tolerate? Like, I feel like it just yes, there is the whole added stresses, but I think everyone kind of can learn to deal with those over time. Like, what is the thing about the holidays that triggers you and stuff? So, I'm at a point where I enjoy every aspect of the holiday season because it's different. It breaks up my year. It's not monotonous. Things are different all the time. There's different people coming and going. There's different things when you go out and about in town. Like, it's just, I love looking at Christmas lights. I love that people are dressed funny, even though I live in Florida and we can't really do all the sweaters and things because it's usually like we had an ugly Christmas sweater party one year and it was too hot to wear the sweaters even indoors. So it
Hmm.
was mostly a bunch of ugly sweaters on chairs. But like, and luckily, me and the person I went to the party with, we both decided let's do ugly t shirts. So we
Mhm.
still actually were themed, even though most of the party was not.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that it's something that all this music is written specifically for one time a year. Like, if you think like you don't have a bunch of 4th of July songs, like you don't
I,
have a ton of
uh,
Easter songs and Valentine songs. Like there's some, but it's not
it
albums of
right. Nobody out there is doing like a CD or like an album specifically dedicated to New Year's Eve or
Exactly. There's a couple. There's even and even New Year's Eve. There's like a handful of songs total, right? Like,
yeah.
and they everyone sings the same ones. People aren't making up their own original music for other holidays.
Mm-mm.
So that's what I think is really cool about just Christmas time in general. And even some of the songs aren't necessarily Christmas; they're just about winter. Which I don't know if it's just because I'm a Floridian, I get overly excited about winter because I don't have any of the crappy parts of it, like snow and being iced in. So that might also be part of why I think it's so much fun to get
It's
wintry
it's
to
it's
the extent
very
we can.
It's very possible because if you were to ever like experience like the depths of winter year in and year out, it
Yeah, I feel like
sucks. It
yeah.
sucks a lot. Well, okay, let me preface that by saying I love the snow. I love how the snow looks, especially when it has not been disturbed. I love the way the snow looks on all the trees. What I don't like is the cold and the wind and the ice and when the snow melts and it looks all gross and gray. And especially when it's been plowed and then there's these giant mounds of snow that just look disgusting and gross, which that happens all the time around here. And yeah, it's
It's like a Hallmark movie all the time.
and
Disappointing.
so if I could, let's just put it this way. If there was a way possible, if since I'm just wishing for random stuff right now, if there was a way that I could have like nice weather with snow, that would be ideal. But I can't because that's not how weather works. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I've been up in the snow a few times, like in Pennsylvania and Maryland and Delaware, and enjoyed it for what it was, but very much knew I would not want to do that as an entire season of my life every year.
mhm,
Because even just in the times I've been, there's been times during those trips where it's like, oh, we can't go tonight. No, they haven't plowed the street. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the thing I came up here to see or do, I can't do now
mhm,
because so, all right. So we're here.
mhm.
Awesome. Like,
So, but to your point, there is nothing else out there that like envelops everything around you the way that like
yep. I
the
mean,
December holidays do.
different
Yeah.
foods, there's different coffee, there's different clothing, there's different decorations, like there's different everything. Like
Mhm.
it's so crazy. I mean, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I drink different coffee this time of year, like a lot of people, because I love peppermint mocha, but I'm not gonna drink it all year long. I only want it for like this month. By January, I'm probably switching to something cinnamony, which
Mhm.
is still wintry in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
I it's just I love the change in so many aspects of your life this time of year that just kind of make it like as an adult you're looking for fun stuff. It's not like we're going to school and looking forward to summer break.
Right.
Like this is even though we're still
That's
working,
so
this is still
that's
like
so
summer break.
that's so
It's like,
true. Yeah.
well, it's not, as an adult there's fewer things that you're kind of looking forward to that were going to happen consistently. And Christmas is one of them.
Well, and there is something about it being at the end of the year, you have to wait, you have to go through all of the other stuff. And this is like your reward for the year that you had, that you get to celebrate Christmas and the holidays and everything like that with the way that you want to as well. Because you're right, there fall or like Halloween is trying to bogart the pumpkin spice latte,
Yep,
and now like pumpkin spice lattes are available like almost year
all
round
year. Yeah.
now if you just request it. And that's not
It
the
took the
case.
fun and the specialness out of it.
Yeah. And that's not the case with the like peppermint mochas and the creme brulee, all the dessert theme. Like you're not going to find anywhere that it offers gingerbread all year round.
Right, or like you're not gonna find peppermint bark in the middle of summer. Like that's
Yeah,
just not a thing.
right.
And I think it's cool, like, it's the time of year where people make, like, things that they bake or cook that they don't do the rest of the year, which I also find kinda cool because a lot of the things that, like, your families pass down, and, like, recipes from friends and things like that, that you know, it's time consuming, it's effort. Some of them have a lot of expensive ingredients, so you can't make it multiple times a year. So I think it's really cool that Christmas is that time where a lot of people choose to, like it's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could bake. I didn't know you could cook." Like, "Oh, I didn't know you were of this descent or that descent because you made this delicious food from your family's recipe." Like, I think that kind of stuff is what also makes it a really cool time of year, and it's just exciting to see. Like, there's always unexpected stuff that you just don't like, there's a guy that I work with that always makes, like, hard candies and stuff every year,
Hmm.
and it's someone who the first year he did it, I never would have pegged him for someone that literally, like, has a candy thermometer and is making rock candies and hard like, all these fancy candies and stuff in molds. Like, it's just a really cool thing when you discover these things about people that you've known for a while, but I think Christmas inspires people to give a little more of themselves because they enjoy it and they enjoy doing for others and they enjoy making other people happy, and I think it's cool, like, people are just generally like either nicer or really not nicer, which I also think is such a weird dichotomy about the whole holiday is that some people totally turn into Scrooge and some people just are nice to you for the first time all year.
Right, right.
So I don't know. It's just a very, I think it's just a very interesting time of year more than anything for me. It's like, I like that it's different and that's exciting to me. But the music aspect of it is what I think that's the first thing that hits you more than anything is that you hear this holiday before you see it.
Yes. Well, so for the most part, yes. So and here's why I say that because I I used to work at an arts and crafts store,
Hmm.
Michael's, and they start prepping for Christmas in like June. And ever since then, I've always been like, oh, we're halfway to Christmas. So in June, I kind of start like thinking, oh, it's time to start prepping for Christmas. Because every year my wife and I are like, oh, we're gonna get all of our stuff together, we're gonna get all of our presents lined up and ready to go. And every year we don't because it's
I feel
it's
like
it's
the older
hard
we get, the
shopping.
more we plan, but
Hmm.
the less we actually still get done early, right?
Yeah, it's
It's like we know where we've made mistakes in the past, and we try every year to plan and not get into that same situation. But I think that you get to a certain point, like with kids and work and everything else, where it's like,
mhm,
nah, I'm in the same exact spot,
mhm,
same exact week of the year here.
right. But
I have not got any further ahead,
yeah, but at the same time,
but tried.
we have we don't have a whole lot of big family traditions or anything like that, but Christmas is a time where, yeah, for sure, we do that. We plan things out. We make sure that we have a specific time when we put the tree up. We have a specific time, like we celebrate Saint Nicholas, all of that stuff. So we do 12 days of Christmas afterwards, where we do just random, like a random little knickknack for us and the girls. Yeah, so overall, it's it really is. It's the most wonderful time of the year and
I know
such.
it's corny, but I really
Uh,
feel that way.
yeah. So regarding your playlist, you said you have multiple iterations of said playlists. And in terms of this one, like, what were you looking for when it comes to Christmas music
So
or
this one
holiday?
is actually called my Rockin' Around the Tree mix.
Oh, nice.
So I have a lot of Christmas mixes, and I'm very specific about what I put on them because all of them have a certain vibe or a certain like sound kind of level I'm going for. So
Hmm.
there's a mix of just instrumentals for when you're eating dinner. Because you want to talk to people and stuff. So we put like not having a fireplace, we always put the fireplace on the TV. We've done that for like 20 years. Back from when you had to actually buy a DVD to have a fireplace on your TV before you could stream them. So we've always done that. Like it's something my husband and I started like our first Christmas together before like we'd go up north around Christmas time, but when we were here during that part, we would have the fireplace
Nice.
going. And the one DVD came with the quiet, kind of low instrumentals, like just the generic ones over it. And I did not like that mix.
Oh.
So that's probably where I started with my first Christmas mix was I'm like, no, I need some Mannheim Steamroller on this. Like I can't listen to this generic violins and piano.
Hmm.
And a lot of like stuff from movies because there's some really great like we'll talk about them but this particular mix though is it's very upbeat. It's like the you're making cookies with your family kind of mix. It's the decorating the tree mix. It's this is like the upbeat like you're putting up the decorations and like having a good time kind of party mix.
Hmm.
So everything on this is upbeat. Like even some of the songs are on here are songs that are generally slower, but I chose like a version of it that is upbeat because I want that energy to stay up the whole time.
Hmm.
So there's only a couple that slow it down just a hair, but then it comes back up. So unlike some of my playlists where I'm not necessarily as concerned as the order where songs are or things like that, this one has to be up the whole time.
Ah, okay.
And I also throw a lot of my other rules out the window on Christmas lists. So I'm not concerned with repeat artists. I'm not concerned with repeat songs. I am making sure if I have a repeat song, it's not within like 5 songs of where it was originally and that it sounds different enough that it makes sense that it's still on there. So I'm not going to have two Joy to the Worlds and they both are basically the same, just a different artist. Like it would
Hmm.
have to be like marketably different for me to include it. And I think I only did that twice though, honestly, like one song twice. But when I was putting my list together, like originally, I think I had like 3 Jingle Bell Rocks and a cut like more than one Run Rudolph Run because there's a lot of different versions, but it wasn't a concern for me. Like when I was actually putting songs on, it was more about like I love this upbeat version. I love this upbeat version. Like I want it to be a jaunty mix.
There were a couple artists that had multiple songs that I wanted to put on my list, but I tried to keep it to one. And Also, there's only one song that I had more than once, and I ended up cutting the last one for time, and I'll explain a little bit more why that is. I think for the most part, my list is pretty upbeat, with the exception of maybe one song, which is a little bit on the slower side, but I've got a story behind it because I wouldn't have included it unless it had a story with it.
Same.
So, and then also, we talked a little bit about this beforehand. Boy, Christmas songs are short, right?
Yeah, like they are
They're
wicked short.
they're super short. I ended up with 25 on mine, and you ended up with what, 20,
29, I
20?
think. Was it
Yeah,
27 or 29? I think it was 20. I scrolled right when you said that. 28.
yeah. So it's there's a
Yeah,
lot here.
it's a lot of stuff. And it's so funny because I don't think of them as being that short because if you've ever been Christmas caroling, don't you feel like you're singing forever?
You feel like you're
I mean,
singing
like you're singing
forever.
forever.
Yeah, it's
I like, and you're not singing very many songs at each stop is what's crazy. So they do feel, I feel like they feel longer when you're singing them. Because even when I was like singing along, like during part of the elimination process on this list, I'm like, how is that song only a minute and a half? That just felt longer.
right. All
I think
right.
part of it on this list too, though, is because I was specifically making an upbeat list. I didn't have slower songs, and some of those slower songs is where you actually get the time. Because some of the slower ones are where you get 4 and 5 minute songs.
That is fair. I will give you
There we go.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like it was just because most of my mixes are about 20 songs in general, so it was weird to me when initially this was at the 80 minutes and was 30 songs, and I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Mhm.
And I was like, and I also found out, I don't know if you've noticed this, but on Spotify, if you're on your computer versus on your phone, it gives you different times.
Huh.
If
No.
you look at it on your computer, because I mix my lists on the computer to get the order correct because
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm just stupid or can't do it. I
No,
can't move the order.
it's hard on
It's
Spotify.
hard
Like
on your phone to move the order your songs are in, like, easily. So I like to click them on my laptop, and I noticed at the top of my screen it said your mix is about 115 minutes or about
about.
100. It literally says your mix is about, or this playlist is about 135 minutes. And I'm like, I know it's not 135 minutes. It was just 130 because I deleted a song and I deleted something else. And I look at it on my phone, same list updated. They update at the same time. Like in real time, my phone is updating to the computer and they're saying different times, but my phone is keeping the correct time, like to the minute. Whereas the laptop will tell you, like, oh, it's about, it always says this playlist is about this many minutes and it's within 5.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
There were so also I had two particular artists that it was very hard for me not to have more than one of them.
Hmm. That's what
And
happened to me too.
I'll get into those because both of them are kind of ripe for covers. So we'll just see how that goes. All right. So why don't we get started and get into the list because the we kind of threw out some rules that we normally have, and we kind of just had specific ideas of what we were looking to do. So why don't we, since we have 25 and 28, why don't we do groups of four? And
Perfect.
I can start this one off.
Alrighty.
So I could not have this list without specifically when I hear this song first, that's when I know it's time. It is time. And I know it gets a bit of a bad rep because it's played to death. That still doesn't change the fact that for me it's a bop, it's a hit. It's All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. And look, if you are somebody who's like, I don't like this song, that's fine. You're wrong, but that's fine. But I love Mariah Carey. I love this song. There's
I love
so
this song. It's on
there's
my list near the end.
there's so many different versions of this song now, which I get it, but doesn't change the fact that the original
It makes it back to
hits.
number 1 every season for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's been out, what, 20 years, and it still makes it back up to the top every year. I
Mhm.
mean, it's why Mariah doesn't have to really work anymore.
No, she most definitely does not. And
No, it's
it's
amazing. I mean, she's got the pipes. But yeah, this is further down my list for sure because I was trying to keep it. Where did it go? Oh my gosh, it's not on my list. It was the
uh-oh.
last song. I must have accidentally cut it when I was moving. I'm like, it should have
That's
been right. Like I knew which three songs it was with. Oh my gosh, it's not on here. Oh wow.
well, that's gonna do it for this episode of Mix
We're done
CD.
here. I
We're
can't do this.
just
I'm
free.
done. Wow. It was my last song. Like, it was
Mm.
literally my closer, and it's not there. That's why I thought I had 29 to begin with. Oh my gosh, it got cut, and that's why my mix is 120 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. Wow. That's a little tough to take. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, so I here's why I'm giving you a little bit of grace as well. Is that even if it's not on an official playlist, it will be drilled into your head so much in order for you to understand that, hey, it is time for Christmas.
For
So
sure.
so
Wow.
it's
Oh, I'm glad it was on your list since clearly it's no longer on mine.
yeah. So my number two, we alluded to it earlier. It's the most wonderful time of the year because yeah, it it is. And this has shown up in so many different movies. It's shown up in a lot of different it shows up on the radio pretty quick. And it is just very indicative. Yeah, it really is the most wonderful time of the year, right?
Love this song, and it didn't make my list because I went with because I usually kind of think of the Sinatra version.
Mm.
And I went with him for a different song that I liked. So this was a cut on mine. Like it was on the initial list, but I think I moved it to a different mix.
Ah,
'Cause,
okay.
see, that was the cool thing about the Christmas one is I don't have extended cuts for my Christmas ones because I was able to fit everything I like into other mixes for other moods.
Nice.
So it was the cool part about having a Christmas list.
Well, and then with this one, my initial list for this felt very basic. It was like, oh, like these are all just like classic-y songs. And then I went back and was like, okay, I gotta add in some a little bit more contemporary stuff in there. But I don't know, after a while I was like, I don't really need to worry about the contemporary stuff as much as I thought because there's a reason why some of these songs are so timeless. So,
Exactly.
speaking of timeless, I guess, my next song is Last Christmas by Wham because
It's in my
I
first set too.
yeah, I love this song. It's ridiculous. And truth be told, I actually did not know this song existed until Glee covered it.
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
I don't know I don't know why,
I'm clutching my pearls here.
as you
I'm
should. I don't know why, but I just didn't, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, or maybe what growing up, my mom was like, I'm
It
not
could have
listening to
been
that.
well, if you think about it, yeah, it might have been something like that though, because when it came out, I was at an age where my mom was young enough that she was listening to Wham anyway. So it was a record I'm sure we have because it came out on a record, which is pretty awesome. And the cover, by the way, is something worth Googling because the
Mm.
UK cover for the vinyl is the funniest picture of Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael. Like George Michael's dressed like Santa holding presents, and you can just see like the happiness on their face. Like you can tell they were just having such a good time, just like
Mhm.
the video for it. Like you can tell they were just having like the best time. I mean, I know the video, there was a lot of alcohol involved. If you've ever seen the Wham documentary, oh my
Mm.
gosh, which also highly recommend.
Nice.
Andrew Ridgeley did a documentary with all the he kept like over 30, him and his mom, I guess, have over 30 scrapbooks of
Mm.
like his entire career, like from the time they were like kids singing together through all the ups and downs of the band. So I think it's on Netflix, but that totally there's a whole section on this song and it's really cool. But yeah, it's definitely like you gotta Google the cover of the UK vinyl for this release. It's just so cute and it's so Christmassy, and I love it.
My last song for this set is one of my more contemporary ones. Boy, Ariana Grande is having quite a year this year, isn't she? So I picked Santa Tell Me because it I don't know, it feels like this is probably the most modern song that we've gotten recently that has become kind of synonymous with the Christmas season, maybe,
I think
or
it's up there for sure. Like it
at
was
least
on
in the conversation.
I put 3 on the list at the same time. This was one of them. This was the one I cut. But yeah, I think she definitely like I mean since Mariah Carey, there hasn't been a lot of Christmas songs that everyone's like, "Oh, I like this artist came out with a Christmas album." Like, because everyone has a Christmas album. I mean,
Everybody now
when doing
does,
this,
yeah.
oh my gosh, it's insane how many artists have Christmas albums. But I think
I,
that it's like it's one of the songs that's unique though. It's not just another cover, another slightly different version of someone else's song, and I think that's what's so cool about it.
mhm.
But yeah, it was definitely a hard cut for me. It was one where I had this and a different song that we'll talk about later, and I was like, I just like, and it really came down to, do I know all the lyrics to this song or that
Oh,
song?
that's fair.
And that was literally the determining factor because this is the mix of like we're dancing around the tree and we're hanging decorations and I'm singing along, and it's like I don't know all the lyrics to that song, so I guess this one wins.
Yeah. No, I got you there. Okay, so what's your first four then, since
Okay,
Mariah Carey
I,
didn't make your list
I
for
can't. I'm still just like I cannot believe that because it was one of the first songs I had put on it, and I specifically put it at the end, at the very beginning when I started making the list.
mm,
But I put this one at the very beginning, and I know it's not going to surprise some people, and I swear this isn't going to be a thing all the time. But it's Smashing Pumpkins' "Christmas Time,"
oh my God.
and it's also one of the first songs I put on here, and I swear it's not going to be a thing. I promise. Like it's not, even though
Well, okay, here's the thing. If it
it kind of
is,
might.
if it is, I hear you, I accept you for who you are, and I'm gonna keep having you on. And
Yay.
maybe one of these days you'll convince me that the Smashing Pumpkins, I just need to find the right entry
You gotta
point.
find the right song and the right, yeah, you just have to be we will get it right and you will come to enjoy them just a little bit. The song's really cool though, for a lot of reasons. So if you've never heard of the very special Christmas albums, like they're very special for a reason. There was a music producer, Jimmy Iovines, that wanted to make a tribute album to his father, like a Christmas album,
Mm.
and his wife was a volunteer for the Special Olympics and said, "Hey, why don't we have it benefit Special Olympics?"
Oh, that's cool.
And some other music industry people like helped him out to like making that happen. So in 1987 they put out the first one, and it had just so many different artists, that different genres, different styles, just all kinds of stuff, putting out a Christmas album to benefit the Special Olympics, which is really cool. And over the years, they've made over $100 million for the Special Olympics. So, Volume 3 came out in 1997 and had like No Doubt and Smashing Pumpkins and a bunch of other artists I like. And Christmas Time was one of the songs. And it's really crazy to think that Billy Corgan's voice could lend itself to a Christmas song, but it's a very different song. It just has a very different sound. It's cool that it's the Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, it came out when I was in high school, and I thought that I bought this album, like I had the DVD or the CD, DVD.
The
No.
disc, just the disc.
I had a disc. It was in my Kenwood Nest case in the car all December long. So, but it was a cool album because it was artists that I would listen to on the radio, and then they had Christmas songs, and a lot of them were originals. They weren't all just remixes. Some of them are like different reimaginings, but yeah, it's a cool song. And it's a cool cause. And I think that they haven't put one out in about 10 years, but there's, I think, 9 of them altogether.
Mhm.
And the art's always the same on the cover. It's this like a figure holding a baby, like it's a really stylized version, and every cover is that art in a different color, which is really neat. So they actually look cool next to each other physically, which is also I always appreciate that when parts of a series like actually physically look good in a physical media collection. So
Okay.
because I had most of them for a while.
Very.
But the next one's kind of along the same vein. It's Weezer doing Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And they did that in 2008 because they put out an EP, which I just found out, like, because not being totally music smart, I did not realize that was like what they call it when it's like less songs than a full album, more songs than a single. It's 6 songs, because which is interesting. So,
Oh wow, I
yeah,
didn't know that.
it's
So
extended play, it's not long play. So it's gonna be less songs than an LP and more than the 4 on a single. I never noticed, like, it just
Duh.
I don't know, like,
Okay.
yeah, it makes so much sense, right? But I was like, "Huh, that's really interesting." But, yeah, they do Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and it's a rock kinda, it's not, like, I wouldn't say it's crazy special different, but it is, I like the rock version of it. I love River's voice, like, it's just a fun version, and they love doing covers, so, of course, they did some Christmas songs.
I mean, there's a reason why everybody does a Christmas album now because they're gonna make money.
Oh my
It
gosh,
is
yeah.
so there are a select group of people that it's like, yeah, you genuinely love Christmas. So I get why, or this is your shtick. That's fine. But then there's others out there that's like, you're doing this for the money, and that's
Mhm.
fine. You do you, buddy.
Yeah, it's nuts. So, my next one, same thing. It's a band that I wouldn't have expected to do Christmas songs, but it's Blink 182. I Won't Be Home for Christmas. I love the lyrics in this song are hilarious, and it's the cleaner of their 2 holiday songs, but it's super upbeat. It's funny because it's like it'll say, "You people scare me. Please step away from my home. It's This is the time to be nice to people you can't stand all year." Like, I love all of that. It's
Mhm.
like, to me, that's hilarious. But it's also like their usual kind of song, and it was on a single actually from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. So that's how I found it.
Oh God, I do remember that. I love that album.
Yeah, that
That's
was,
that
and
was
it
a
had
good
a
one.
hidden track at the end too that I really like. So yeah, that was a fun album.
I think they did like a couple different versions of that
Every
album
disc
and
was different.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
you could get the pants, the jacket, or the plane.
mhm,
Like, you never knew which one you were gonna get when you actually got the album, which was
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
But then the last one in this set is the Wham song, which we talked about. So
Wham.
it's Wham. It's
Right.
Wham.
All right. My next four. So Run Rudolph Run was going to be on the list, but it was just a matter of picking which one was going to be on my list.
Oh, so you only
And
picked one.
I only picked one, unfortunately. And I picked the Chuck Berry version, just the classic one. Mainly because
Not one I
also
picked.
mainly because it's also in that scene in Home Alone as well, where they're running through O'Hare Airport, which as a Chicago kid, I have done that a number of times. Maybe not to the extent that they did, because, well, it's a giant group of people running through the airport. You can't do that now where without security being like, "What are you doing and why?" But I just the rock flair of it and just I don't know. I think Rudolph's a fun story to kind of show for Christmas anyways. So because I also didn't include a version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on here. This is the
I didn't
closest that I
either.
got. So this was, I guess, the happy compromise there. My next one, the Beach Boys, Little Saint Nick. Just it's a bop. I love it.
I
It's
have one. I
great.
didn't pick theirs, but I picked a similar one. So
Mm,
cool. Very good
So
choice because I had to choose between them and a different version.
so my next one, my next one is Feliz Navidad, and here's why. Okay, growing up as a kid, well, that's how
Oh,
everybody
is that
needs
where
to
you
grow.
started?
Yeah, yeah, I deserve that one. So we had a couple like Christmas specials on VHS. Like not like you taped it on the you taped it through the VCR. Uh, no, this was like an actual VHS of that you bought in a store of a Christmas special of some type. There was one particular Christmas special. It was a Sesame Street themed Christmas special. And I remember very distinctly the first time ever hearing this song was in that Sesame Street Christmas special, where there is a girl who's figure skating, and then Big Bird is figure skating with her to Feliz Navidad.
Oh, that's kind of amazing. I don't remember this at all.
I'll see if I can find a YouTube clip of it because it's kind of hilarious if you really think about it. It's like this
Oh my gosh,
giant
yeah.
bird and this child are figure skating to Feliz Navidad, which, by
Especially
the
when
way,
you figure Carol Spinney's probably actually in there because I don't
probably
think
well,
he
I
ever really used stunt doubles for anything.
probably not. But the place that I work, there
Mhm.
are there is a lot of Hispanic people that work there, and this is playing nonstop. And thankfully, I love this song, so I don't mind it. I know it gets on other people, but I love this song so much. And yeah, like
It's a
it's
good bop, and I honestly didn't. I think because I don't know of a specific version that I prefer over another is probably the only reason it's not on my list. Because
yeah.
it wasn't something that just came to my head like, oh, I need the whatever version of that.
Yeah. I mean, I just picked the original
Mm,
with it, and I just this is another one that when this comes on the radio, I will stop and listen to it. Like no
mm.
matter how many times it comes up, I will always listen to it. And then my last one, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
I got it later.
So
The
I
Thurl
picked the
Ravenscroft version.
Yes, I did not pick the Tyler the Creator version
No,
from the new Grinch
the Grinch.
movie. Yes, the Grinch, not Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas or
Right.
anything like that. So my oldest was in a holiday song showcase at the theater company she's in, and this was one of the songs in it. So I've got a couple others on here that are coming up, but that will always remind me of that. But also the old school how the Grinch stole the
I got it.
Christmas. Patrice, give me your next four.
So I think we can all agree acapella really had a minute there in the mid to early 2000s, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Like
I would
between
agree.
Glee and you had a lot of like the like the voice kind of shows and stuff like that starting to really have a lot of acapella groups like in all these kind of pop culture things, right? And one of the like incredibly popular groups that PBS was plugging all the time was Straight No Chaser, who it's an ensemble group. They kind of rotate. It's not like it's the same four guys or anything. I mean, it could be 4 to 6 guys, it can be up to 12. It's a big group. And they had a really amazing Christmas special back around 2008. And one of the songs they did for the first time during one of those specials was the 12 Days of Christmas, which is not normally an upbeat, peppy song that I love. But this one, it's they called the 12 Days of Christmas medley. So they you might have heard it because it's wild. It sounds like a fever dream in a Christmas song.
It's my next song.
Is it really?
Well, I the a straight no chaser 12 days of Christmas. I'm not sure it's the specific one that you're referring
Is it
to.
just the 12 Days of Christmas or
I'm not,
halfway in do we get a little bit of Africa?
I'm not sure if it's that one. It could
Oh,
be, but I know what you're talking about because Straight No Chaser, they come to Chicago every year for a Christmas show, and this is always like a huge highlight of something that they do. So I'm not exactly sure. I need to go back and listen to it if it is the version that does have some pop stuff or Africa's spliced in. But the point is, I have Straight No Chasers, a version of the 12 Days of Christmas next on my list.
because it's amazing because they you don't expect it like it's going to be a medley but you don't expect them to keep going back into the 12 days of Christmas. Like it's cool that they keep the 12 days going the whole time, but instead of ending up with a partridge in a pear tree you go and Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer and it goes into that. And just the way like they got the Carol of the Bells and they've got just all kinds of stuff going in with it. But then you get to day 12 and they've got 12 drummers drumming like Olympus on the Serengeti. And I lost it the first time I heard this. I was
Mm.
like, that's amazing. So then like, you just, it sounds just like Africa. but they're counting down the 12 days of Christmas in it, and I love it. I've listened to this song so many times, I'm surprised Spotify didn't tell me it was in my most listened of the year. Like, yeah, like, since, like, Thanksgiving Day was probably the first time I started listening to it for the year, because I will listen to it over and over. It is the most ADD Christmas song you can imagine. If you've never heard it, it can be a little jarring for some people because of how many songs end up cut into such a small period of time. Like some people hate it because of the rounds being sung in different songs. Because it's not like you're hearing a round of the same song. You could be hearing two different songs at the same time, but it works with how they do it. Like I really the composition of the song is very like it's just well orchestrated and they pull it off somehow and it's crazy because it shouldn't work, but it does. But I love it, and it's only 2.5 minutes, which is also really short for a 12 Days of Christmas to begin with,
This is
because
true.
it's one of the longer songs
Right, right.
generally.
Which that's something that we've identified is that boy, these songs are short
Yeah.
and there's a lot of different options to choose from with
Yep.
this. So no, that's a good call out. I was wondering if you were going to pick that as well because
I
it's
had Little Saint Nick at first, but I'm like, "No, this is definitely my favorite of their Christmas songs because I like their version of Little Saint Nick. It's got a very Beach Boys kinda sound to it, but, ultimately, I had to go with this one because it's just so much fun.
it's iconic and also not my only acapella song on
Nope.
this list.
My next song is a cappella as well, so it's actually by
Okay.
Rockapella. It's
Oh,
Jingle Bell Rock.
nice.
'Cause I like the how they start it with, like, they've got the really deep, like, "Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell, like, I love this version is so much fun because it's not the straight up Jingle Bell Rock that you normally hear, and I like Rockapella. They're fun. They're always fun to listen to, and I like their take on a song sounding just a little bit different but still familiar. So, I definitely out of their I think they've got 3 Christmas albums, so that's probably my favorite of them. And then rounding out my last one of this set is a song that I love that there are a couple of versions of it. I really like the one from the movie, but it's very hard to find. So, Mr. Heat Miser, the Big Bad Voodoo Daddies did it. And it's
Oh,
actually a good version though because it sounds like the movie. It's not like a funky, I'm trying to make it my own. Like they just you can tell they like the song. Like if you watch them perform it, you can tell they're just really into it. They must love the movie and the it's a fun, like the best Rankin Bass Christmas movie. Like The Year Without a Santa is great. So I love that, and it's a 4-minute song. Like it's not the 30-minute
seriously?
or the 30-second blip. Yeah, it's a 4-minute song, and they do the heat miser and the snow miser parts. So it's not like you're just getting 30 seconds of one, which is what most of the ones on Spotify, you're only finding like a 30-second like like heat miser, and that's it. But this is a full on 4-minute song and it's cool because it goes into both of them. But it very much sounds like the original, and you can hear like all the brass instruments. It's a fun version because it's so much like the original without sounding different. Like if you were only listening to parts of it, you might actually think you were listening to the movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I, God, I didn't even think of some of those.
Oh
What
my
is
gosh, that
what
was
is wrong with me?
well, there's a 30-second version for the Snow Miser that's from the movie that's on Spotify. And it's under this listing that's called Songs I Can't Find on Spotify, which does have a lot of fun movie related musical blurbs if you're looking for something obscure.
I
And that's
may
originally what I had until I remembered. I'm like, I know I saw someone perform this.
I may need to take a look at that because truth be told, I made this particular list on Apple Music. So maybe that's
Oh, yeah,
why
different availability.
which I don't get why things are available on some things but not on others. It's 2024, almost 2025. What are we doing?
I feel like I'm able to find a lot more of the obscure stuff on Spotify because people like you and me can put it on there. So you
Yes,
do end up finding
absolutely.
things that it's like, "Oh, I loved this song from a show that played one time." And oh my gosh, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm determined to get that Belinda Carlisle song on here from Mannequin. Like, I'm not the only one that wants to hear that on a playlist.
Right. All right. Well, my next set. So, as I mentioned before, Straight No Chaser, The 12 Days of Christmas is my next song. the song after that, the Christmas song by Nat King Cole. I mean, I had my fair share of picks of different songs that I could pick that were just older and classic, and I just landed on this one because I don't know, just between the opening and the chestnuts roasting on it, all of that stuff. Plus, it's Nat King Cole as well. So
It's got a great vibe. Like, it definitely, like, gets you in the Christmas spirit.
yeah, so this is part of a group of just the more classic, I guess, songs. Because my next one is just a version of Silver Bells by Dean Martin.
Choice. That
Yeah,
was on my initial cut. I cut it pretty early on just because it was a little bit slower, and I was trying to keep mine a little more upbeat. So that actually was one of the determining factors in getting rid of some of the older stuff for me, was just because I was legitimately trying to keep my list a little more upbeat because it is more of a, like, it's on Spotify. This is my rockin' around the Christmas. Like, that's what it's named. So yeah, there weren't a lot of rules for this one like we normally do in
yeah,
general. So one of
true.
the few things I had to go with was, well, is this peppy? So
Well,
only reason I had to cut it.
and at this point, yeah, just whatever rules that we could establish, just go for it, right? So yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about this group because we talked a little bit about the 12 Days of Christmas, and the other two, they're iconic, and all we really need to say is yep,
It
that's
is worth, if you like to watch old Christmas specials from 50s, 60s, 70s, it's totally worth watching Dean's because he does a lot of performances. Him and Bing Crosby both had really great Christmas specials where they're just, I mean, it's just a vehicle for them to highlight how amazing their voices were. So, his was definitely worth watching because he sings, like, I'm almost positive Silver Bells was in it. But it's just fun to watch him sing it live, even though what you're getting, but I don't know, there's something about seeing the artist do it, especially from that time period, that makes it just a little more special.
yeah, good call out with that. All right, what's in your next set?
My next set is where I had to be, how much Muppet is too much Muppet for a list? So, much like my love of James Bond in our soundtrack one, I had a real hard time narrowing down how much Muppet to include. So, I got, I'll say 3.5 Muppet songs.
3.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this set's actually technically 4, but it's because the one is like 20 seconds. So I'm starting off with the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem doing Run Rudolph Run because it's fun hearing them do anything, but I feel like this is really their vibe with their just Dr. Teeth talking about wanting his electric guitar, and I loved Mayhem. I can't believe it only got 1 season. Like, they could have done so much more with that. But there's a lot of Electric Mayhem Christmas songs over the years mixed into the different specials and albums that they've done, and this is probably the most fun. So then, the next one came from, a Muppets Christmas Letters to Santa, which is probably
No.
one of the lesser seen of their Christmas shows. It's from 2008, and the song's "Delivering Christmas." It's the one when they get to the post office, and it has solos by Jesse L. Martin, who played
Oh,
the
Collins.
postmaster.
Oh,
Who,
and
if you don't, most people now probably know him as Joe West in The Flash. But back when this came out, he was still very much Detective Ed Green on Law and Order, who I loved. That was like my favorite era of Law and Order was Jerry Orbach and Jesse L. Martin. So when he took his hiatus to go do Rent, and I found out, oh, this guy can sing and dance,
this
like
guy can
that's very
legit
cool. And this guy
sing.
is mad skilled. Like, I wish he was in more stuff because I didn't realize until he took off of, like, because at the time I was like, "Oh my god, why is he leaving Law& and Order?" And then that's when I found out that he was actually a Broadway trained actor and he could sing and he was taking off to do Rent, and then that's why I watched Rent and was like, "Wow, he's amazing." So, it was very cool and unexpected to see him pop up in a Muppet movie, and I wish he had had a bigger part because he is just in that one scene, but I love him in this song. I thought he was a great addition to the Muppets for this, so really glad to see him in that.
Good
And
call.
then my next Muppet song is "It Feels Like Christmas" from A Muppet Christmas Carol because it's probably
That's
the most upbeat of
that's on
the
the
of the songs. Yeah.
that's
It's a
that's on
great
the list.
soundtrack. Like, the instrumentals are great, and the instrumental parts are stuff that I would definitely, like, play during dinner and things like that during Christmas because they're beautiful, and
That's
they're
beautiful,
really
yeah.
iconic. I mean, when you hear those songs that they're from The Muppet Christmas Carol, but I love the "It Feels Like Christmas" being sung by the Ghost of Christmas Present, and it's a fun song
Mm,
and great movie. Like, I watch it so much this time of year. Brian Henson's first directorial movie,
mhm.
amazing. Hit it out of the park, but the music was on point.
I am trying so unbelievably hard to get my kids to watch it, and I'm trying tonight because tonight's family movie night, and
Mhm.
then we're gonna watch a movie on Christmas Eve. So two shots at that. We have been severely lacking on the Christmas movie front this year, so I'm hoping that I can convince them. But the oldest one is just hell bent on Harry Potter. She wants to watch the first Harry Potter movie because we just finished the first book, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
like
I get it, but Muppets
Muppets.
at Christmas.
And speaking of, has Shane talked to you yet about possibly pitching you an idea for a podcast?
No, but I have heard an episode of something Muppet related from him that I immediately contacted him about.
Yeah, he
Because
so
I love me some Muppets. I don't think that's a secret.
him and I talked, and he was like, this whole Muppet My Movie segment that I do, Patrice should do that, and she should do that as like a podcast. And Nick, like
Oh my gosh, yeah.
when I talked to Nick about that, Nick was like, yes, I would gladly do that. So you two
Yeah.
should maybe
Nick
connect.
and I actually get to talk Muppets with Aaron on the next Zip Pop schedule, so
Oh,
we're very
nice,
stoked about that. Because
nice.
we kinda slid them in a little bit this last time around talking about turtles, because it's like, well, Jim Henson.
There we go.
So it's very exciting that we have 2 Muppet movies on the next cycle, because, yeah, there's Muppet movies that Nick and I are the only ones that have logged them on Letterboxd.
Oh,
Or I'm like, "Someone else that knows this one, yay."
there we go.
Yeah, the Muppets are great, and that's where, my half song is
Yeah.
actually the Christmas scat that Robin and Kermit do. Just there I love it is such a sweet scene. It's like 30 seconds. The song is 23 seconds, and it's just the 2 of them walking down the little cobblestone street, scatting on the way home from church, and it's so cute, and it's really like, it gives me the feels, and it's 20 seconds,
Hmm.
and I know it's a Muppet version, and Tiny Tim's not dying, like, but it's still just it's so cute. Like, I honestly wish it was a little longer, but it's a cute little interlude to have, like, literally directly in the middle of my list. I thought it was so cool that it fell so perfectly because it feels like a midway point.
Nice. All right. Good stuff. All right. My next set. Look, this song has not aged particularly well, but this is from the 80s. This is like a childhood song. I was a little shocked when Glee did a version of this song, but hey, it is what it is. But I do they know it's Christmas? It's it's just one of those songs that I just cannot walk away from just yet.
It was a bit well, and I think part of it's our ages too, though, because it was a big deal when it came out because we're gonna raise money for famine, and here's the song, and it's like, "Whoa." Like, it was a little mind-blowing to have that many, like, British artists, like, all get together, and especially because it was the same year George Michael had just done This Christmas. So, like, it was a big year for different Christmas songs.
Right.
And
No,
yeah, like I agree, like if it's the first time you've ever heard it is now, it's a little, is that one we want to sing? But I think if you grew up with it and you like they were going for something and I appreciate a swing.
yeah, I say the same thing about movies and TV all the time. You will get extra points for swinging for the fences.
Yep.
So, and this one tried to do that. So I will give them just a tad, tad bit of credit for that. So, my next song, my favorite Christmas song, and I don't really know. Okay, I do kind of know why. So, my favorite Christmas song is the first Noel. And look, I'm not much of a religious person. Like I'm straight up honest about that. But The first time I heard this song, we used to have a Disney Family Christmas album where it wasn't even like Mickey and Minnie singing it. It's just this collection of just like random songs that they put together that just has it's like the songs that they would have on like the sing along versions.
Right. Like it was
So
yeah, some of them were the songs they were singing just in the parks. Like they'd
yeah.
have their caroling groups that are just in the parks during that time of year. So I think we had the record.
Oh, nice.
Like I'm pretty sure we had the record and it was just like the Disneyland singers or something. Like I can't remember like their Disneyland chorus. Like it had some generic name for it. But yeah, they're beautiful. And you're right. That song, I don't know what it is about it. And you hear it in a lot of Hallmark style movies.
Yeah,
That movie shows up or that song shows up. And I think it's just because it's such a Christmas standard and it does have the religious tones to it and everything, but I think everyone can appreciate it. It's a
yeah.
beautiful song and it's not hitting you. It's not like you're singing, wow, I just lost the name of the song.
Love this song. So
But
good.
yeah, it's gorgeous though. Like I can't think of a version I've heard of it that I don't like.
Yeah, and
That's what I think's cool about it is it's not one of those where like, oh, that's a really bad version. Like I feel like it's always if it's sung well, it's
mhm.
worth listening to.
And that is where I kinda struggled a little bit trying to narrow down which version I wanted to pick, and my original cut of this had 3 different versions of this song, and I was like, "No, absolutely not. I cannot, in good consciousness, have 3 different versions of this song." So, I narrowed it down to 2 versions, and I couldn't pick, so I flipped a coin like a fucking child and was
Did
like,
Andrea Bocelli win?
"No, no." It's you mentioned Andrea Bocelli, and then I also the coin flip loser was Josh Groban,
Oh,
and
yeah, good
here I am picking a Carrie Underwood version of The First Noel. So, a little embarrassing for that because it I almost did like kind of like a March Madness bracket style of, "Hey, here's all the different versions of The First Noel that I could pick." It beat out like the very brief and quick version from Glee. It beat out the Pentatonics version
Oh, yeah,
and
I forgot about that one.
so many other people, but I just picked Carrie Underwood, I think mainly because I think a lot of my songs are by dudes, so I needed a little bit of diversity in
No,
there as well.
that is actually something that was happening with my list too, where I was trying to get male female voices kind of mixed in so it wasn't just like dude fest and then like here's 3 chick songs like
Mhm.
cuz it's very easy to do when you're doing a Christmas list, especially because you're usually going through a full album by an artist and a full album by an artist.
Yeah.
So, I could see where it's really easy to fall into that and that actually ended up being something that helped me make some of my cuts was, well, I'm trying to keep it as level as
Mm,
I can with the female male voices, and I'm not counting
mm.
Muppet in the mix.
Well, and then speaking of Muppets, since we already brought it up, I'll also throw in my next song, which is the song that we mentioned from A Muppet Christmas Carol, because
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's so sweet, but
oh,
and
go ahead.
strangely enough, my next one's also Muppets.
Oh, okay. So
But it's like
you're
my transitional Muppet song into getting
okay.
out of Muppets,
Okay.
and it's with Andrea Bocelli.
Oh, okay.
So, back in 2009, he did a PBS special because all these great Christmas specials come out for PBS pledge weeks during Christmas. And Andrea Bocelli actually has a really great Christmas special with his family that came out a couple years ago. That if you
Interesting.
haven't seen and you like his music, it's amazing. His son Mateo sounds and looks so much like him that a lot of songs that I had heard previously, I did not realize were his son singing. So it's very cool. It's him and his wife, his daughter, and 2 sons, and they're in Italy, and it's gorgeous. Like the production value of this special is just insane for what like you don't expect that kind of production value on a 40-minute like I'm gonna sing Christmas songs around a piano, but they actually put there's choreography with background dancing snowflake. Like there's all kinds of stuff. But if you like Andrea Bocelli, it's worth watching. But during his PBS special, he had just a bunch of different, like, every song was a different guest, and he did one with the Muppets, and they're in a sleigh, and they're singing Jingle Bells, and it's cool because he's kinda doing slower, like, he's singing Jingle Bells kinda slow in his beautiful voice, and then all of a sudden, the Muppets pop in doing it fast, and then it goes back to, like, slow with him, and then the Muppets fast, and then they kinda start singing it in rounds, and it's really fun, and it starts slow, but it gets upbeat, and it's fun to hear him singing with them. Like, it's just the quirk of the Muppets with how great and just impressive his tones are. Like, I don't like, I can't say enough about how much I love listening to him. He's just I could turn his Christmas album on anytime, beginning to end. I love it all. But, when he sings with other people is when, like, he sang with Reba and Natalie Cole and, Mary J. Blige, like, all these different people popped in for his Christmas special, but of all of the performances he did with, like, I like the one with Reba was great, but the Muppets was my favorite. So, yeah, I could talk about him all day. But, we'll go ahead and move on to someone who most people wouldn't think would show up on a list, but Tom Hanks did Hot Chocolate for Polar Express. I love the Hot Chocolate song, and I know it's mostly just him singing "hot, hot, hot chocolate." Like,
That's okay.
here we've only got one rule: never ever let it cool. I will sing this all winter long in my kitchen. My youngest kinda laughs at me when I do it because 'cause I'm kinda doing the in his face, kinda like we're joking around, but it's a fun song, and it's just there's a song about hot chocolate. Like, how great a world are we living in?
Right?
Like, it's just I think it's a really fun song, and I was really glad that I was able to make it into the list, and I couldn't believe it's 20 years old. Like, that
Seriously.
blows my mind, right? Yeah,
Seriously.
this year. It's a little wild because I really didn't feel like it was that old
I
at
just
all.
I
Yeah,
I I need a minute.
I
Uh,
know. I barely felt like this movie was older than my kids, and then I'm like, "Oh, it's so much older than my kids."
oh, okay. Okay, okay, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good now.
Yeah. So then we'll bring it back. Let me distract you. Black Cat, Black Cat. Brian Seltzer Orchestra also
Yeah,
doing Run Rudolph Run. It's been included in a lot of soundtracks, like the new Grinch, I think, had it. Not that that's why I cared about it, because they've performed it a lot around this time of year. I'm pretty sure it's in a Disney performance somewhere for a parade.
I'm sure it
But
is.
they're
Yeah.
so fun to watch, and I like this version. So upbeat, but it's still different than the Electric Mayhem doing it. So I love Rudolph Run. Like,
Great
it's a
one.
fun song. But, I like Brian Seltzer Orchestra doing it. Like, they're the right band for that song. They've got the right vibe. But go ahead and, give me your next 3.
All right, my next 3. So, kinda piggybacking off of the first Noel, that very Christmas Disney Family Christmas Collection album, I'm pretty sure this was on, like, the VHS, like, old school sing-along, like, the Christmas, version that they have for it, but they have Joy to the World on it, and same thing kinda with the first Noel, like, I don't like Joy to the World as much as the first Noel, but it's just kind of a staple, I guess. So I threw the version of this from the actual album on there, so that's fun. I'm surprised Apple
I'm
Music.
surprised I don't have that on here anywhere in any of its versions, honestly. Because, like you said, it's not like a favorite, but it's definitely a staple
Yeah.
of the holidays.
Yeah. So I had that on there. And this kind of starts where I have some movie themed things. So I look, I'm not the biggest fan of Love Actually. Like it's got problems, but I still enjoy it enough to where yeah, it's fun.
It
It's
is.
definitely got its moments. And this ridiculous song that they have, that Christmas is all around. Like I adore the song "Love Is All Around" by Wet Wet Wet. And like first of all, that's a ridiculous name for a group, but whatever.
Right?
But I love that song. So when first time I saw Love Actually, it's like, oh my God, are they actually gonna like
Yeah.
are they actually going to have this be the thing that they overlay and then they say Christmas is all around me? And I'm like,
I
I
know.
don't like this.
It's a
But
little wild.
I still enjoy it enough.
It
It's
was on my initial list. I cut it kinda early on. Like, it was one of those, like, when I first just started slapping songs on the list that I put it on there. I did cut it kind of quickly because I'm like, do I really like love it? Love it? Like it's the right vibe. Like it and it wow, it's a fun song though. I just don't
Yeah.
have like the connection with it to have kept it on the list, but I do like it is on like it's in the rotation on one of my longer playlists. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
I
fun.
yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's all good. Hold on. Gotta love it when your oldest is just pulling an enormous booger out of her nose and wants to show me.
Like, "Hey, look."
Yeah,
Like,
look what
"Hey."
I just did. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
be glad that's all she's showing you.
this is very true. I will give you that. And then my next song. So I this is coming soon, but Nick and I recorded a top Christmas movies list for Geek Speak Louder Than Nerds.
Oh, nice.
And we put together a bunch of different movies, and one of his was Klaus, and or Claw,
Is it
whatever,
Claus? Yeah, Claus with a
Klaus.
K.
Yeah. So I don't know why I pronounced it like Claus. So I did not include it on my list because I think it's a little it's too early to say if that's going to be a staple. Upon revisiting it, it's like, yeah, this movie's really good. So
Yeah. Like, surprising like, it was a surprise that like, I thought it was gonna be another one of those, like, straight to Netflix or whatever, like, cause was it Netflix?
yeah,
Either
no.
way, like, I thought, "Oh, okay," like, I'll watch it cause it's on, but I really liked it a
hmm
lot.
So all of this to say, I'm not making that same mistake again. So I put Zara Larson's Invisible on there because
Oh, great pick.
yeah, just wanted to include that. Sorry, Nick. Apologies. You were right. You were right. So okay, what is your next set?
My next set is my postmodern jukebox set.
Ooh, okay.
Because they've got I don't even know how many Christmas albums. One is just Scott Bradley pianoing around and it's great. Like I could listen to that whole thing. Like that's like a having dinner like or playing games with the family and don't want the competing voices, but you want to hear the Christmas music. But there's a version of We Three Kings that Vaughn Smith, he was, I guess, one of the singers that they kind of picked up from his YouTube and American Idol popularity. So he was a finalist in like season, like way seasons late. Like didn't get like far, but he was in the top 30 or something like that. So I guess that's when he started doing YouTube stuff, and that's how he ended up here. But does a version of We Three Kings that's more upbeat than We Three Kings typically is, which is why I like it. Like it sounds like it should have scatting in it. It doesn't, but it sounds very scat-tastic. And
Okay.
I that's why I like it because it's like an unexpected peppy version of a song that's typically very slow and a little more mundane, but it's a fun peppy version. So then the next one's also a version of a song that's very different from its usual problematic self, and it's Baby It's Cold Outside, but it's Ashley Stroud and Robert Adele Anderson, and the one is a tap dancer, and the other one's singing. So there's only one singing voice, and the duet is with the tap. So it's very cool because normally you've got a man and a woman singing to each other, but you've just got one woman singing to the tapping, and it's very cool because the tap dance, like the tap sound, is the featured duet. Like it's which you'll find in several of the postmodern jukebox songs, like "Singing in the Rain's" another one they do where the tap is very heavily featured. Thriller, they've got the tap featured. And it's very cool that they not only for their video production quality have the tap dancers, but that the tap is an integral part of the song. And I think that's very fun.
I wrestled with, do I include Baby It's Cold Outside on this list, and it was a final cut. Yeah, like that song is not aged well
Yeah.
either in a lot of ways, but I like that you kind of split the difference
Yeah.
between the two. So that's a good call out. I'm looking forward to
Like it
listening.
was cool, yeah, because I didn't really feel right leaving any of the kinda typical versions in because it's like, I don't" yeah.
I don't
Like,
know. I don't
but
know this.
this
Yeah.
one being the way it is so very different and not being a guy and a girl and having it be, like, just singing to the tap was I think a good compromise on being able to include it. And then my last of my postmodern jukebox is another Robin Adele Anderson one with Drew Davis, who does some rapping in it. And it's
Ooh,
got Rest You Merry Gentlemen, which is a song you would not expect to be very upbeat and like a fun party song, but they got it. And there's this super upbeat piano riff in it that just makes it like Scott Bradley just knows what he's doing on a piano. And this is just it's so different. Like all of postmodern jukebox, the whole point is that they're doing different versions of song. But the Christmas ones in particular, I feel like are just where they are so on brand for what this group does. And if you just really want to get an understanding of why they're so great, just turn on any of their Christmas albums
okay,
and you just really get a feel for it.
nice. Okay, good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna do 4 songs in this set because yeah, I'm just
Why not?
going with that. So my first song in this set, boy, it was hard to narrow down a pentatonic song for this. And I'm going with maybe one that is a little out of left field, but I'm just gonna go with it anyways. I love their version of What Christmas Means to Me. And look, I love the Stevie Wonder version, but this one is just a little bit more poppy, I guess. And yeah, that's what I adore about it. So I ended up picking that one, even though you and I probably conceivably could have done a pentatonics. Here's all the pentatonic
Easily.
Christmas songs, and just sift through, and just pick out the best ones.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, like I thought about we should just do acapella in general. Would have been fun too. Between the acapella pentatonic stuff, we've got like all the cool stuff with like rockapella and straight no chaser, and then you've got like people like Julia Westland that do a lot of great like there's a lot of really great acapella Christmas. But
Well,
pentatonics in particular though, I feel like yeah, they're a Christmas medley from them you could play all day and not get tired of it.
yeah, next month for January, acapella songs.
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, let's book that, and then just add that to. Okay,
No idea.
all right.
I was
Well,
trying to look something up
yeah.
and don't know what happened.
So can definitely add that to the
Oh, for sure.
list of ones that we're looking to do. So I had to throw on the Chipmunks song on
I
here.
have it too.
So I went with the classic one, I believe, as opposed to the one that was in the live action movie, which that one feels a little bit cleaner, but I love the old version, which just sounds ridiculous, but
We've
I
got
love it.
videos of us as children dressed up singing it and
Nice.
like with the sweaters and we like taped an A onto the red one for my one brother and because I'm the oldest I had to be Simon because I'm taller than everyone.
Oh,
So yeah.
nice.
And I was the only one that had glasses. So Simon by default.
Simon by default. So these next 2 songs. So my oldest daughter did a Christmas song showcase at the theater group that she's in. They did 5 songs. One we've already talked about, which is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. The Thurl Ravenscroft version, not
The
the
original.
Tyler the Creator
Ugh,
version.
no.
The other two are like 2 of them are like, do these really count? Because one of them is, do you want to build a snowman? So the other one, because the whole showcase was called Seasons of Love. So they did Seasons of Love from Rent, which was adorable, but also like, is this really appropriate for
Right.
kids? So, but the 2 actually legit Christmas songs we have on here. So the first one is Where Are You Christmas from The Grinch, which,
It's I thought about it, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, "Is that the tone I want?"
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
pretty, though.
So tone disparity is definitely there, but yes, the I think Faith Hill gets kind of lost in the shuffle a lot of times when it comes to music. So I wanted to give it a shout out. What do you think about the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch?
I love it,
Okay.
but I also was sold just with Christine Baranski.
That's
I
fair.
love like her alone, honestly, I would watch most things for. I love her. And that was a really fun role to see her in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, it was one of those where I actually put off watching it for probably the first year or two because I was like, I no, like, why are they doing this to this? Like, this is a classic. Like, why are because remakes weren't as big a thing and as common at that point. So the fact that they remade it at all was like, why are they doing a live action version of The Grinch? Like, this is so weird. It's a book and it's already a cartoon. What do we need a live action for? And at the time, I really didn't care for Jim Carrey all that much, other than being the Riddler. I really had no interest in him. So, I think it was at least 2 years after it came out before I watched it, and then I finally saw it and was like, "Oh, I can get behind this." Like,
Mm,
it's because I feel like they got Whoville right. Like, that was the biggest thing is this is something that is pure fantastical made up world, and if you don't get the absurdity of the scale and how unbalanced everything is, then it's not gonna be worth watching, and they actually managed to do that, so
okay.
but yeah, I think this song is so adorable. Like it was unexpected, I think, though, to have it in there because it
Yeah.
kind of brings down the loony to this standstill,
Right.
which is
Right.
kind of weird. But it's a beautiful song, so I wasn't bothered by it. But
Yeah.
it is like the first time you watch the movie, you go from just all this craziness to then all of a sudden like heartfelt little ballad from a little girl. You're like, what's going on here? But it's so pretty.
Yep. Yep. So I think I'm kind of on the opposite end of you when it comes to the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch because I was a Jim Carrey fan. I think 1994 is the greatest year an actor could ever have with Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and The Mask, which says a lot more about
That
me
is
than
kind
it
of
does.
crazy when you think about it that way.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this actually is really excited. And as I've watched it more, I like all the other stuff, but the Jim Carrey of it just
Yeah,
it's
he
too
really is,
much.
like,
It's too much.
honestly my least favorite part of it because I know the Grinch is mean, but he's, like, so mean and like, he's mean to Max,
Yeah,
and I think that's where it's like, "Look, this is the only being that tolerates your presence, and he's helping you,
for
and you're
sure.
horrible to him."
Right. So the other song that they had on here, and this is also where I had a bit of a dilemma on including this or going through the songs that Glee has done for their Christmas specials. Okay, so hot take on the show Glee. Their Christmas specials are all not good because they're all a bit of a mess. And the tone deafness of making a Jewish girl sing Christmas songs is not lost on me at all.
Yep.
So, however, they did a version of "We Need a Little Christmas," and it's a bop. And the showcase they chose this version of "We Need a Little Christmas." So I picked that,
No, it
and
slaps. I mean, you're gonna find yourself singing it later.
yep, yep. That's yeah. So that's my next set. Quick check. How many more do you have left?
I've got 8.
Eight. Okay. So why don't you
Oh,
go?
well, wait, no, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 9.
Okay. So why don't you go? You because I have checking. I have
Which a
5 more.
couple are duplicates of ones we've talked about too, though, so
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll let you use your discretion then. So go ahead with
yeah,
your next.
so my next one is the only, pure instrumental one I have on here, and it's Linus and Lucy from Vince Guardy Trio, from the Peanuts cartoons, and it's the and the reason I have it is because you will sing the instrumental. Like, it's one of those where like, you find yourself doing that.
This was on my original cut, and I was like,
I was back and forth with it. I kept taking it off, and I'm like, I kind of
no,
like the
no,
like.
no, I hear you
It's definitely one of those songs that has no lyrics, but you still sing it,
for
which
sure.
I think is pretty funny. And it's just so weird that that whole special, like with the jazz soundtrack in general, like was such a choice.
It was
And they did
definitely a
not think
choice.
it was gonna work at all. Like the network was like, no one wants this. Like, why are we doing this? They thought it was gonna be a complete flop, and then it turned into the phenomenon that it is.
Nice.
So, I think it's cool on a lot of levels that because it's like it's such an unexpected hit, and it's just so weird to be singing an instrumental song.
Yeah.
My next one's just it's a classic. It's Gene Autry, "Here Comes Santa Claus," which I think had kind of another surge in popularity because of its inclusion in National Lampoons, which is why I had to include it because every time I hear this, I can't not think about that SWAT team racing down the street and Ellen protecting Clark's Jingle Bells. Like it's so funny to me that that's the song playing as just all these cops and everyone just busting through the walls. And I mean, it's a Christmas staple, but I think I love it more because of the National Lampoon's aspect of it. Just kind of brings it up a level for me.
Good call.
And then my next one, totally different, is the Sia song "Candy Cane Lane." I did not like this song when it came out at all. And I really only think I saw the entire thing because I found out she had done like the claymation video version of it. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm interested in watching that." I don't care about the song. But this song has totally grown on me. And I find myself singing it and I annoy my mother with it a lot. Like it's one of those where it's one of those where if she has an opening in conversation, I will try to work this song in. So it's like, well, we could eat candy cane. Like I it's a big annoyance for her, but it's much fun for me.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it's of all the Sia Christmas songs, it's the only one I care to replay because she's got some other pretty ones, and I like Sia in general. But her Christmas album, like, it isn't the best for me because it's a lot slower than I like in an album. But Candy Cane Lane is so upbeat and peppy, and it has that. I feel like it does kind of have that like classic Christmas like vibe to it. It's like I don't know, but it's fun.
Yeah. Good
So,
call.
and then I'll go ahead and do one more in this set because it's kind of along the same lines as the Katy Perry "Cozy Little Christmas," and I like it. It tells a story. It has a an older vibe to it. I like Katy Perry generally anyway, but it does have a cozy little Christmas vibe to it.
Mm,
Like, it just I love that it tells a little bit of a story, like, you get the feeling of shopping and all the stuff she's talking about, but it's a cute Christmas song, and I like that it's different, it's not just singing someone else's song, it's I like original stuff, and I think she swung and actually hit on this one for me.
I'm not sure I've actually heard this song.
I bet you have and don't know it, because you can't walk into a building selling
Okay.
Christmas anything and not hear it on their music.
Interesting.
Like, I th you gotta listen to it after because
Okay.
I feel like you'll be
Interesting.
like, "Oh, that song," because it's on I swear I haven't
That
been into a
song.
grocery store or, like, it's on at work all the time. I hear it once an
Okay.
hour at work since the week before Thanksgiving.
Got
But
it.
it's
Okay. So it'll be one of those things where I hear it, I'm like, oh, this fucking
and it's
song.
like,
Okay.
"Oh, this one." Yeah,
Okay.
like, it's back it's in your subconscious, you just don't realize it yet.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. So I have four songs left. So I'm going to do four and then I'm going to do one. And then however you want to split up your last group so that you end it however you want. That's fine. So my next three, White Christmas by Bing Crosby because it's White Christmas. I'm not a huge fan of the movie. Hot take on that. It's
Ow.
so I now admittedly I need to rewatch it, and maybe if I rewatch it with the girls, maybe I'll like it a little bit more. So, but can't deny that this is a bop. It's a great song, and I think we've got the chance here of having our first White Christmas in a long time. So,
Wow.
seeing how that pans out. My next song, NSYNC, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. No notes on that.
No,
It's
it's
I'm
great.
I'm on I'm firmly on Team NSYNC when it comes to the NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys thing, even though one of my go-to karaoke songs is I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. But yeah, Backstreet Boys never did a Christmas album, or if they did, it sucked because I don't.
Right, yeah.
So, but again, the what you mentioned before with the originalness of the song. I will give it that. And then my last one. This feels a little bit like a cheat because although not technically a Christmas song, it was the credit song to my favorite Christmas movie of all time, which is Scrooged.
Oh, yeah. Like,
So I picked "Put a Little Love in Your Heart" with Al Green and Annie Lennox.
no, that's a
Yeah,
great choice because I totally associate that song with Christmas.
yeah,
Like, I don't think of anything other than Scrooged
yeah.
hearing that.
So I love Scrooged. I love that that song ends the movie so on a more uplifting message than the cynicalness
Yeah,
of
because it got
network
real dark
television.
not long before that, so it kinda is a good thing that they brought it back up when
Yeah,
they did. I think they needed to end on a song like that
a little bit. Yeah.
just to make sure.
Okay, so I've only got one song left, and I'll save it for. I'll split the difference between how you want to split up this group.
So, 3 of the ones I've got left are ones we've talked about. So my next one's the Alvin and the Chipmunks from 1981. I know we've already talked about it, but I love that special. I love that Alvin gave up his golden echo harmonica for a sick kid. Like, it's just so sweet. And I love them trying to raise money and Dave just thinking that they're being total jerks and trying to get money because I just love how they say it, "Money!" Like, I love every I love Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like, that was one of my favorite shows that because they started the series not long after this special came out. But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of other Christmas songs. Like they sing like I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, which I almost included just because it's not as well known. But I had to keep this one on there because it's been a part of my Christmas for literally as long as I can remember. Next one up I've got though is another that's a little different and it's Kelly Clarkson Underneath the Tree. I feel like it's Mariah light, but
That's fair.
I legitimately feel like this just sounds like Mariah Carey didn't want to do this song, but Kelly, you should do it. And I like it though. It's super upbeat. Just it's from her. She's got several Christmas albums too, but this was on the
Yes,
Wrapped in Red album that she did in 2013 and probably my favorite Christmas song she does cuz I've seen her do a lot of different like duets with different artists that are really fun too for Christmas, but this is still my favorite performance from her. Yeah, she does oh, what was she doing? She did a song with Reba McEntire and Trisha Yearwood and now I can't remember what it was because it was a medley. But that was really great too. Like, I can't remember all the songs that were in it, so I would just call it a Christmas medley because I almost included that instead, but it gets kinda slow in a lot of parts, but it is
okay,
gorgeous, the 3 of them together. But yeah, I had to include some Kelly Clarkson on here because as
okay.
Spotify has told me repeatedly, she's apparently one of my favorite artists, which
Ah,
was a surprise to me,
very
but,
nice.
but Spotify keeps telling me that for the last 3 years.
Nice. Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and save the last 3 since 2 of them are repeats, so go ahead and give me your bring it on home with your last one.
Twinkly Lights from Bob's Burgers.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I this was one that came up and I was like, "Oh, that's right." Because I think Bob's Burgers, it unfortunately gets lost in the shuffle a little bit
Mm,
between The Simpsons and Family Guy,
for
because
sure.
which is weird because Bob's Burgers is way better than both of them
Yeah.
now. So
It's the only one sustaining the quality.
yeah, so but I this song is a song. So I like this song a
Oh, I
lot.
love that you included that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I was trying to think of more stuff like that too, though, because there is so many things that are like, "Oh, it's just like the Christmas special of this show or this movie or whatever," and it's not like when you like, it's stuff that when you're watching, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I do love this." Like, and I couldn't think of all of them because there are some really fun ones from TV specials, and you're just like, "Oh, yeah." So, that was a great inclusion.
Yeah, yeah. I knew as soon as I found that one, it's like, yeah, this is gonna be my last song. So
Right? Well,
all
I
right.
chose my last song very intentionally too, but,
All right. Take us home.
so my last new one on the list is Holly Jolly Christmas, but the Michael Bublé version, not Burl Ives. I love me some Bublé,
This is
and
good.
he's got a swingy, jumpy Christmas, and it's a great album. So it was a no-brainer for me to include something from him on here, and I thought it was a good compromise because the Burl Ives version is everywhere. It's overplayed for sure. Like I don't think I would ever put that version on before Buble because I love it swingy.
Right.
And then my next one was Mr. Grinch, the thorough Ravenscroft of it all. But bringing it on home was actually we talked about it earlier. I did not think that it was on my list, but it was just not on my show notes. My last song was Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
There we
So
go.
thank God. It was
There we
just me
go.
not typing it that first. So because when I went back and I'm looking at my playlist, I'm like, no, it's right there. And I'm like, oh, because I didn't type it on my notes, it wasn't there. Yes, it just made it in. My playlist is exactly 80 minutes.
So I started my
Thank
playlist and
goodness.
you ended your playlist
Which
with
I think
that
is
song.
hilarious
All right.
because it could go either way. Like, it's a great
Yeah,
little
I
bookend
totally
to if I had had enough time, I probably would have put it at
every
the beginning and end.
so the past couple of years I have hosted trivia the day before Thanksgiving at the bar that I usually host at. And every year I always start like I always play the first part of All I Want for Christmas Is You, and they expect it and they hate it every year because they know I'm gonna play it. They I get boozed, I get all of that, and I'm like, no, we're not
Oh,
gonna play Christmas music. I get it. But yeah, I don't care how overplayed this song is. I still love it. I still
oh,
love
I'm
it
with
so
you.
much.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
unapologetically, yeah. And to be clear, I cannot sing it all, as we all know, like from the little tastes you guys have got over these podcasts. But I will belt this out, and my husband will yell at me from across the house to stop it, and my youngest will sit there with his fingers in his ears. And I don't care because it's one of those where when you're getting
No.
into it, you can't not start bopping to it.
Yeah, for sure. So we had a swim meet a couple weeks ago, and there's a DJ playing some songs, and the DJ ended with playing this song, and oh my god, all so it's one thing for like the people in the stands to go nuts over this song. That's understandable, but all these kids going nuts, like they're all singing and they're all like dancing and like pointing to each other. When they say
Oh,
you, it was like this is kind of adorable.
right?
So so yeah, this is a great song. Yeah, just love it. So
Yeah, it's great. Like, I mean, she's she doesn't have to work anymore because of this song. Like that's
yeah,
how popular and ridiculous this is. I
for
mean, it's
sure.
that much a part of our culture and Christmas at this point. Like, could you imagine like you did something so great that it's like, oh, well, I'm retiring off of this one and I'm
Yeah,
out. Just got to
right.
sing this a couple times a year and
And just call
yeah,
it a
and
day.
it's like, and I'm out. Like I just work in December now, guys. Yeah, kind of
Okay.
amazing.
So last question I have for you is that if this was an actual CD, what would be the album cover for it?
So my idea is gingerbread cookies or like sugar cookies that are cut out to represent aspects of these songs and artists. So it looks like someone's having a cookie party with the big sloppy like piping bags of icing and stuff. But you've got a Grinch cookie and you've got Linus and Lucy with a piano, like things like that that represent aspects of the songs and artists, I think would be pretty cool.
That is fantastic, very applicable, and a nice sentiment. Versus my album cover, which is a picture of a couple pictures of my kids screaming when they meet Santa Claus. Uh,
Oh,
I yeah,
I love it.
I love it because it's not quite Christmas until we get a screaming picture of Santa.
Yeah.
This year they were both okay, so cool.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I'll take it.
I
But
I love that we continue to terrorize our children year after year. Like, you're gonna love this eventually, guys. Like, come on.
yeah,
I love the ones where I've got both kids with Santa screaming at the same time, and the poor Santa just like, I'm gonna hold this together. Take
Nice.
50 pictures right now. Maybe one of them will have their mouth shut.
One of them is bound to work.
One of them might not look like they're terrorized.
Very nice. Well,
Oh, that's great.
Patrice, thank you very much for sticking with this and just coming up with this list. Again, you reached out to me about this. Is like, can we do this? I'm like, yes, absolutely, we can do this.
Like, "Christmas, please."
So thank you for that. Do you have anything that you want to plug? And where can the people find
My
you?
Well, you can find me pretty regularly on Sif Pop. I know we're taking a quick hiatus for the holidays from our weekly blurbs, but I do have Effect on Fiction that just came out on Red One. That's pretty wild.
Nice,
Gives you an idea of the fever dream that is the way I think about documentaries. And I've got one on Y2K coming out soon too, which
oh
is just
nice,
as wild a ride.
nice,
But, yeah, other than Sif Pop, Teely Fox Talks on Serialized, Letterboxed, anywhere I am, I'm Teely Fox Talks. And then I just started a website, which is also Teely Fox Talks, where if you like nostalgic ramblings on all kinds of weird pop culture stuff, you'll find it.
nice. Good, good call out for that. Again, appreciate you jumping on. Appreciate you as always. Thank you, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and the like.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Well, my friends, the time has come to end this episode of Mix CD. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website soon to be out at spdmcrew.com. You could follow our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music at Mike Hilty. Shout out to High Flyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. If you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, no matter what happens now, you shouldn't be afraid because I know today has been the most perfect day I've ever seen.